and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, Brandon, pleased to be with you. Thanks for tuning in. All right, guys, let's do it. Subscribe. What the heck? Subscribe to the channel right now, Brandon. Right now.
Do it.
Take the mouse, go like this. Look,
happening?
External mouse with your Bluetooth that's
Dude,
frying
so
your
good.
hand right now. Probably frying me as well.
I'm
Thanks
trying
for
to get it to
frying
fry
me.
you.
Subscribe to the channel. Put a like on the video. In a priori, we already know ahead of time how much you guys are going to like this video. Put a like. Do it. Do it right now. Give us a random thought or comment in the comments. We want to hear from you. But if it's not random, we will also potentially talk about it on the next week. I have a comment or two here.
I need a PSA first.
Go ahead.
Can I PSA?
Yes.
Here? All right. PSA on the comment section, guys. We love it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the real conversations when people... I enjoy the humor. You guys are funny sometimes. You make fun of Jesse a lot. I love it. You make fun of me probably more, and I love that too. But the real conversations, when you have something to add to something we talked about, it's really cool to hear your thoughts, or you share, or you expand an idea that we talked about, or you challenge and you say, hey, like, I disagree, or here's a different way to think about it. You know, a lot of you guys really, are drawn to like an actual conversation, and I appreciate that. And I know Jesse appreciates that. But there is a PSA because we've been getting we get some commenters that that aren't dialogue based. They're not clearly there to have a dialogue, which is cool, man. Say what you want. We don't police the comments, right? So YouTube has a bot that will block blatant, vulgar, and certain taboo topics that they deem taboo that aren't our choice. That's YouTube's process. That's their standards. Most of the time, if you say, "Hey, you guys are deleting my comment," we don't even know because we didn't delete it. YouTube did, right? Like we just had a video that got taken down because Carl was talking about how his family used colloidal silver, and they said it was medical misinformation. Even though he was just talking about his experience, and they took our video down, right? They blocked it, right? So they do that in comments about vulgarity, certain topics. We don't control that. What we do, though, is if you're in there and you want to challenge something, cool, let's talk. Let's go back and forth. Let's have fun. When you start spamming the comments and not even, if I respond to you in an engaging way or in a respectful way, and you just want to come back and attack or start another and not even respond in the same way, like it's exhausting. You're just gonna go, man. Like it's not something that I'm gonna continue to engage with. So that's the PSA. If you want to have a chat, let's talk, let's do that. Or if you want to come on the show, send us a note, send us an email, info@abecuador.com. We'd love to have you on. If you want to chat, you're interested, you have some stake in Ecuador, you're interested in coming here, you're an expert in one of the things we talk about, we'd love to talk more. But in the comments, if it's just because you're triggered because I mispronounced Greta Thunberg or what, I don't even know, I did it on purpose there, But if that triggers you, I'm sorry, like we're gonna be honest, we're gonna tell you what we think, and it is what it is. So if you want to get on a high horse and monologue in the comments, go for it, man. But you're not going to get any engagement. So, and if you go too far and start causing, havoc, then, our comments section is a privilege. It's not a right. So, see ya. All right. PSA over. Thanks for commenting.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. If you are interested, if your interest is piqued, if you've been, sitting in that crazy part of the world up north where everybody's angry and the divisiveness is endless and the cost of living is choking and the health situation for people is difficult and the levels of stress and so on and so forth, and you've been looking for greener pastures, and somehow you found us and Vilcabamba in Southern Ecuador and our channel, and you're thinking at all, about checking this place out, this is your chance. August 29th, we've got 5 spots left in our next Vilcabamba lifestyle retreat. We'd love to see you down here. We've honed this thing for a number of years. It is an amazing experience. It's really top shelf. It's as good as I think you can do a retreat here in this area. The reviews speak for themselves. Check the reviews, please, in the description below. You can check out our We Travel reviews as well as our Google Maps reviews, which really give a great sense of kind of people's experience and what it's like on the retreat. But it is really a very all-encompassing experience where it's a great vacation. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to learn everything. You're going to see everything. And you're going to go home sort of compacting probably your first 2 years of learning, if you were to live here, into that 9-day experience and enjoy yourself. You know, people go back home and they text us all the time and they write us and they're just like, man, I just missed that place. I can't wait to get back.
Right.
This sucks. I'm back on the grind. I'm back and all that stuff. So anyways, okay, check that out in the link below.
Yeah. Guys, you're going to leave. You're going to complete the retreat. I trust that you will complete the retreat and you will leave Vilcabamba to go back home with all the questions you had answered and information and connections and relationships at your fingertips, ready to make the decision on whether doing life in Ecuador, particularly in this region, is right for you or not. And maybe that means the next chapter is renting or visiting for more than a week, and it's a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. But you're going to be armed with that and ready to make a decision, and I trust you will enjoy it. So we hope to see you down here.
So I have a little funny anecdote story that kind of sums up life here. So we're right down here. They're working on the road. It's been, for a while, it was kind of open, kind of closed. Mm-hmm. It was like hit or miss. Now it's closed. Yeah. For the last week or something. And I actually heard they're having a meeting tonight or tomorrow. No, tomorrow night to give the government, knock some heads together about how long this is taking to fix the road here. I will not be attending that meeting, however, but I think it's right up here actually.
The meeting.
I think where that soccer court area there. I think it's right there. So anyway, having now been closed that road for a while, we're used to it being closed. So when I'm driving home, I have to pass through there. I already know I have to go around because it's been closed full time for a week or two at this point. I'm not kind of thinking about it the other day, and it's nighttime.
Oh boy.
And I'm not thinking about it, and I'm just cruising. So I'm cruising up the road. There's no tape, there's none of the yellow tape. There's no nothing. So I'm just cruising up the road on my way home like normal without, I'm just kind of distracted mentally.
Yeah.
And I was a foot and a half away from just driving into the pit.
No.
And having my car just sitting in a pit like this and having to get towed out. And, I just, as I slammed on the brakes and snapped out of my, not being presentness that I was in, I just had a good chuckle as I backed down the little narrow to get back and turn around and go where and laughing at myself, but just had a good chuckle of this is Ecuador in a nutshell. It's nighttime, they don't market, they don't put anything out. You could drive into a pit and have to tow your car.
On this side though, they put a hill.
They had
they
a
made
pile of dirt.
A makeshift hill across the road.
Yeah.
So you don't actually do that.
Yeah, and they had the yellow tape down below at some point.
Right.
But
I saw them take it down. I was walking down on Tuesday to go see Adriana, and I saw them actually taking the tape off, and they were driving a big water tanker up, and they dumped a bunch of water, and then they just didn't put it back.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's talk about cost of living for a couple minutes.
You want to?
No, I don't really want to actually.
Okay.
But
it's typically not something
people. No, it's very boring. But
it's a popular request.
We've done some videos on it years ago.
Yeah.
And shout out to Shane, one of our retreat participants from a couple of retreats ago. We were shooting the breeze just via text here in the last couple of days, and he was making the suggestion,
Yeah.
I think rightfully so.
Yes, he did.
We haven't done that kind of video in a long time. So we're not going to do the whole thing, but let's just give people a couple of data points here. So rent in this town, in this region, anywhere from like $200 up to like $1,200. Your typical range for like a nice house around here, like Vilcabamba, is anywhere from like $400 to like $800-ish is more or less your range on rent. Apartments less, Loja is less also, further out is less. And then if you're getting up over 800 and you're into 1,000, 1,200, you're talking like really luxurious at that point. So that's rent. Food, you know, like, I don't know, all your imported products are a little bit more. So, you know, I'll spend $8-10 for a large bottle of Tabasco, for example. If you're buying, you know, imported whatever, it tends to be a little bit more. But anything that's produced in country is very cheap. There's also, so for example, you know, in Vilcabamba, which it's a little pricier than other places. In Vilcabamba, for example, you know, a head of chard or a head of kale or a head of like any kind of vegetables like that's normally 50 cents. Like normally whatever it is about 50 is usually 50 cents. You know, for $1 you're gonna get multiple heads of lettuce, maybe 3-4 or more heads of lettuce.
Right, and if you go 15 minutes or 10
It's
minutes
less.
over to Malacatos,
It's
it
even
might
less.
be a quarter or 30 cents
Right,
ahead.
exactly. And then a funny thing is the supermarket is more, you know, so if you live in the city and your only option, although even in the cities they have the markets, but if you're shopping like at Supermaxi, which is kind of the big supermarket chain here, you might pay like $1.60 for that same head of chard or whatever. So definitely more, which is funny, it's like the opposite of back home.
Yeah.
Definitely more. So yeah, food's
And
really
it may
cheap.
not be as fresh.
It probably isn't.
Right,
Yeah. You know, meat is much less expensive as well. I mean, I order my meat from Loja. The filet mignon is $4 a pound, for example.
Yeah, I mean,
grass-fed.
that doesn't compute for people because
Right.
it's, you know, you're paying $18 to $25, you know, in the suburbs of Chicago.
Right. And if you're buying it in town here, it's more. It's more than 4.
Maybe 6.
Yeah, maybe, right, something like that. But so yeah, so your meat is very inexpensive. Medical bills, man, that's a huge difference. I mean, a doctor's visit here is usually $40.
Right.
30, $40.
Yep.
You know,
And that's not a 15-minute.
no, it could be an hour.
Right.
It could be 45
That's an
minutes.
actual
Could be 30 minutes to an hour type
where
of
they're
thing.
learning about your history. You know, yeah, it's like it's not a 15 minutes. In the first 10, you're with the nurse, and the doctor comes in for 5 minutes, looks at his iPad, and says, "Okay."
Yeah, and
See
it's
you
just
next
so
time.
much like, it's so much just more convenient and less formal too, which I really appreciate. It's like you can just show up at almost anything. You know, it's like you don't have to make, you know, oh, I have an appointment at 10 o'clock at the vet. If I get there at 10:05, you know, they might not take, like, you know, you just go down to the vet and you're like, hey, you know,
Right.
and they, you know.
And sometimes if you have a relationship with people or just how they operate, they'll come to your house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They'll come to your house.
No, I had a lady that I was emailing with somebody who's, you know, they have a medical thing where they need some dialysis, and we were talking through like how, you know, the logistics of that. I'm like, but then she made the suggestion, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm gonna look into it, but you can probably do it at home, like easily and cheaply, and you know, those kinds of things are just so much easier. Which is really nice. And the relationship piece, like you mentioned, clothing can be way cheaper if you don't mind like average quality. If you want name brands, it's more expensive. So that's, you know, that's how clothing is here.
If it's imported.
If it's imported, right?
Well,
so,
I mean, they have imported.
which is everything.
Well, I mean, we should do some caveats on imports because the Chinese imports are not more
there's
expensive.
trade deals, right, with some countries. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go find Chinese manufactured plastic stuff
Yeah.
and aluminum stuff, you know, and
Cheap.
clothes. Very cheap, yeah.
And there's always like, two economies here always, you know, there's like the people with money and the people without money, and the people, the part of the segment of the population that, you know, lives more simply and is more rural and doesn't have the same, you know, isn't city people basically. You know, they have ways of getting stuff that's always effective and efficient and cheap. And then you have people who want to go to the nice, want to shop at Supermaxi, want to go to the like fancy stores and here and there and get the name brands and do all that. And that's expensive. Like that's an expensive lifestyle.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that's the programming. That's like the social piece that they think, they're at that phase of life or, consciousness or control that they think it's worth the kudos I get because people see me shopping at Supermaxi that like
right. It's like it's an
they're
image
looking
thing.
up
Yeah,
at me,
100%.
right?
No, and that's a thing here. I mean, that's totally a thing here. You have, it's fun as a foreigner because you can really bridge this. Whereas if you, depending on, they all get along. It's not a getting along issue, but there is class difference here. So if you're from a family whose like history goes back to working the land for the last 500 years or whatever, or you're a family that goes back to owning the land for the last 500 years, right? And that's kind of the divide. And there tends to be, the working the land set is darker, is more indigenous, has more indigenous blood. The owning the land segment is more back to Spain, right? Is more like the that lineage. And those groups, they get along, they like each other, they're fine with each other, there isn't animosity, there's no issues in that way, but they look at each other a little bit different, there's like that sort of, I don't know, that class divide or whatever it is. And it's fun as a foreigner because you can really bridge that. Like as a foreigner, you can almost like be what you need, both groups look at you as like someone they want to know and interact with, and so you can kind of interact in a way that either group has a hard time doing with the other, but you can do it with both. And I don't know. It's interesting.
It is interesting, and it's interesting that the whole Spain landowner, indigenous, tied to working the land, and you see some of that even, occasionally I'll see folks, from Loja that clearly have money that are here, and if it's a sunny day, they're walking with umbrellas.
Oh yeah.
They're walking. They don't want, and they're very proud of how pale their skin is. Clearly, like where they don't want.
And they wouldn't ever talk about it, but you can see the
pride.
Right,
it's you can see it, right?
Yeah,
And
agreed.
And it's here, like, you're like, man, I want to get a tan. I want it feels good, like, I don't like looking pasty.
I'm permanently in the sun, but yeah. No, that's exactly right. And there's different mannerisms between those groups, and there's different ways they look at life and different ways they go about things. And, but, the commonalities are really there too, in the sense of like, they tend to all be really good people. They take care of one another. They put life ahead of money. They put relationships and people ahead of money. They're not ruthless. They're not, you're not trying to take advantage. And again, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm generalizing, but yeah. So,
we were at Aguansacas on Father's Day, so they invited us over. They're doing a Father's Day dinner for because it was all the the family, right? And they had decorations and they had all the food and the cake, and we made cookies.
They know how to celebrate in this country.
Well, it was just surprising, it's like a father, like we've been invited to birthday parties, but like Father's Day, and they're like, no, we really, Brandon, you have to come, your family. So we go, and it's like the whole thing, and we're taking pictures, and it's me and all the dads, all the Ecuadorian dads, and we're taking pictures, and the grandpas and the uncles and the cousins and the like everybody, and Diego's mom, Teresa, her brother was there, and he had been with Diego in where's that, Texiche? Is that near Malacatos, right? That's where they had a novena in Texiche, so they arrived to the celebration with a little bit of booze in them, but he sat down and talked to me for the first, maybe not we've had very limited conversations, hey, whatever, but he just made it a point to like explain, like have a heart to heart about how much respect he has and how much just like how there's this mutual respect with his family and my family and all this people, and that we're, like we're so proud that you're our friends and we're together, and it's not about money, and it's, it's about like helping each other out and being there, and and he just pride, and or what did he kept saying, respect was like respect, and how respectful you are in your family, and we and it's just, that was just really cool, and like they just kept having that, and you're like, yeah, man, it's not about money, it's about these folks are happy, we're happy, we're not like they're, nobody's judging each other, there's not this pretentious like, what am I wearing? Am I wearing, what did I look, none of that. It's just like...
Or all the divide stuff either.
No.
Right? It's like no one's divided over beliefs and...
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
a big difference.
And I'm able to make jokes. Like one of the running jokes is, Diego, Iker and Jesus' dad, he works his ass off, man. He's in construction. He works hard, man. He's 36, 38. He works his ass off.
Yep.
Most days of the week, and then their mom's in the States. They don't, so he's in this machismo culture, he's Mr. Mom too, and he does a good job of it. And there's times where like he needs to like cut loose, right? And like I'm good with that, and he's like, he was in Taxiche. He asked to pick up Quinn. He took Quinn and the boys to Taxiche with Chino and his son. Nice. And they went and watched some soccer games and were hanging out at the events and doing the games and stuff. And then he called and he said, "Hey, do you mind picking up the kids? I got a lot of work. I got a lot of, mucho trabajo, And that's like the running joke, like, I got to go to work. I got a lot of work to do, So then... So then we're like, yeah, of course, right? So we go get the kids, and then, we were going over to his house later anyway. So like, we'll let him shower here because it started to rain. So we're like, let the kids shower, we'll bring them over. So we get over there, and Diego's still not back yet. And then they show up, and Diego had a few, had a few, and it was like his mom was upset with him, but everybody was laughing, and I'm telling the story like they were, because it's like a running joke that Diego got to work, and I'm like, well, because then they were trying to confuse, like, well, wait a second, because they thought the kids, how did you end up with the kids, and blah, blah, blah. So we're going through, and I'm like, yeah, well, Diego called, and he's like, Brandon, can you, mucho trabajo, he's like hiccuping, and they were dying, and it's hilarious. It was just fun that like, my broken Spanish, I'm able to tell jokes, and it's okay. Like, it was okay. Like, we're not like, he's not an alcoholic, he's not like abusive. It's just like, one of those things. Like, go have fun, man. You work your butt off, and you got good kids, and I don't know, man. It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, no, it is. It's cool it's really cool too how open and welcoming people are here, as long as you do have respect. Yeah. And you treat people well, and you understand kind of how they operate and go about things, and you're willing to get to know people and do that whole thing. It's as welcoming, a group of people as you could, a culture as you can imagine in that way.
Yeah, we had there's some folks that moved into the property next door over there. Yeah. You can't see from here, but they're not used to closing the gate that's right there, so the horses keep getting out.
I drove by them this morning.
Yeah, so the horses are out, and Tiff and Belle and Quinn are out trying to find them, and then all of a sudden, Byron's cousin, one of the Belle's friends from the the horse group, has the bakery in town, the Churritos, his cousin stops and like, hey, you need help, and he jumps out of his truck, and everybody stops, and another guy gets out of his truck, and they're like corralling the horses and helping get him, I'm just like...
And there's nothing even remotely unusual.
Right.
Anyone would do it for anyone else that's
it's insane,
here.
right, yeah. No, it's so awesome.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, I mean, it leads in a little bit. We're just so programmed coming from the West, We're just so programmed. And that, that fear versus reality, concept is massive, especially when you're trying to make a move or a transition to a different place. That stuff's all going to come up.
Right.
And, it's so important. it's so important to stay out of the fear and to be able to like decipher and differentiate. There's a client who we're friendly with who's here now, and she was telling me, and I don't look at any of this stuff, so like I don't really know what's out there. I years ago I remember some stuff was sent to me that I kind of looked at and it was just so gross I just stopped looking at it. But excuse me, but she was saying like there's all these people on the internet and she was doing a lot of research, and so she had come across all this stuff, and like there's all these people on the internet who were saying, Vilcabamba's horrible, and the locals hate the foreigners, and all this kind of like, all this narrative. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I've been here now for a while. She's like, I don't see any of that. Like, I love it. She's like really talking, she's just having a normal experience if you're open to it of what life is like here, which is that the people are great, and the community's great, and it has everything you want, and, blah, blah, blah. It's like, excuse me. But yeah, just that sort of, that fear versus reality narrative, and that ability to decipher works. There's a better word for it, but that ability to decipher,
navigate.
Anyways, the ability to be able to understand, what's real, what isn't, because there are plenty of people on Earth, in every walk of life, that their shtick is that they're unhappy, they're angry, and they want to tell you about it. Mm-hmm. And they have opinions. For me, I don't pay much attention to their opinions. They're not opinions I resonate with. I don't live my life from that perspective or that standpoint. I don't get caught up in politics. I don't get caught up even in the machinations in this crazy country in terms of like, oh, this is happening. Oh, this is dangerous. Oh, this politician's doing, I don't get caught up in that stuff because I don't think that it adds any value to my life, right? I try to, I have a moral code that I live by. I have my goals in terms of like how I want to be in the world, how I want to be with my kids, what I want my time in my life to look like in that sense, right? Like I want good relationships. I want to be present. I want to take care of people. I want to like do good in the world. I want to have that sort of stuff going on with my children that I'm responsible for, and I don't want to traumatize the crap out of them and like, yell and scream and get upset. And like, I don't want to do all that stuff.
That's a great question to answer for like, to ask yourself. How do you want to go through time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, if you haven't been here and you don't, it's so easy to come across and also that's the other thing. People who enjoy their life and are happy don't tend to sit around writing things on the internet. Like, I don't do that ever. I don't think you do that ever. No. I don't think most people who are just like kind of happy, enjoying their life people are like, I'm going to go write something really positive about some random thing on the internet. No, it's people who are miserable and angry and want to put anger and fear and divisiveness out into the world that A, have the time, and B, take the time to be like, let me go put some crap out, right? Yeah. And so just like being able to understand like what's authentic, what's real, and what are just people who are just unhappy, angry, miserable people and are going to express that in whatever walk of life they're in. Now, the fact that there's some deterrence out there is fine and great, and that's kind of part of the cost of entry is being able to figure that stuff out.
That's some of the beauty.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's gripping though, man. That's gripping. The fear piece, the fear of the unknown is paralyzing when you've not been here and you're feeling that urge, that call, that inspiration, whatever it is to do something different, to experience life different, to try whatever that is. And when you're somehow drawn here, or probably anywhere else in the world that you haven't been, you have that unknown because you've never been there. So then your only perspective, perception is what you go and look on the internet or talk to somebody or in a Facebook group or on Twitter or whatever, watching a YouTube video, that's it. That's what's feeding your senses and or your fear. So when you don't know, when that's so paralyzing in and of itself, and then you come across a Facebook group that's got, you know, a handful of people like that are in that mindset, that have that philosophy of life, and they're just feeding off each other, that's probably terrifying.
Yeah.
That's terrifying because...
It would have to be.
Right, yeah.
Because it provokes fear.
Yeah. So, and paralyzing. So not only are you inherently like a little fearful because you're unknown. Now you can be as macho as you want and be as processed as you want. There is some fear in the unknown for most people.
Oh, yeah.
For most people.
I mean, if you're completely 100% done with fear, you're probably done with Earth.
right, perhaps, yeah. So the fact that when you already have that on some level, gripping you at some level, paralyzing you at some level, and then you come across that, it's just, it's easy to like,
And there's just, exactly. And there's just like, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, yeah.
There's just a lot of getting out of the fear, sort of angry stuff. There's also just a lot of bad information out there that's unintentionally bad.
Right.
It's just bad because either people never lived here very long or integrated into things or spoke the language or understood things well enough to be able to actually share truth of what's here. You know, it's something like that. It's like, or it's like they're expressing other people's opinions that they heard that don't have anything to do with reality. And so you, like again, I've been back in like interacting with clients a lot recently, and it's like some of the stuff that, like, some people somehow they have it down. They've like figured out how to decipher and navigate and like parse, and they like have kind of, I'm surprised by like how well they understand things. I've come across people like that, but I've also come across a lot of people that just have their head filled with like random opinions that they've come across that are just in many ways almost opposite from reality or the truth here.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, you know, you kind of like, and that's kind of partly why we do the retreats, but it's like you have to, you know, you really do have to come and like feel it and see and like experience it yourself. Your eyes, your ears, you know, your sensations, what's actually here, and feel it. Like, is, you know, because it's, you know, it's not like the people who came and didn't like it and left, they didn't resonate with what's here. And so, of course, they're going to externalize and like blame the exterior.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, it wasn't for them where they're at and their vibration and their life at, you know, and their consciousness at this point in time. Completely okay, obviously. But to like go off of that would be silly.
Right.
You know, anyway.
Yeah, there's something I read that relates to this, just about the fear. The fear not only of the unknown, but just, you know, your worries. Like, you know, when you're thinking about doing life somewhere else, and I can relate to this just, you know, from 4 years ago when we did it, and you're thinking and you're reading all this stuff that's out there, and you're all of a sudden you're worried about, oh, am I going to get robbed? I can't speak the language. Am I going to get murdered? Are the cartels going to get me? You know, because you know, those thoughts are there and prominent in social media and places. So of course, you know, you think about them, right? And then because those are the prominent narratives in most social media about particularly Ecuador, the last few years anyway. So anytime I would talk, so I already had that fear, slight fear of the unknown, then fear of some of this stuff in a way, like, or concern, like trying to understand, are those real threats? What's my risk tolerance? All that stuff. Then you go and you mention that you're thinking about going to Ecuador.
Oh, right, and
then everybody's got the right, because this is all that's there, right?
Because it's their fear now.
Right.
So now you're...
So then you start worrying about all this stuff, right? And this is what's interesting. So, you know, I can't remember but I took a note. I can't remember where it's from, but it was essentially stop regretting the past learn from it, accept it, right? We've talked about those concepts. We try and live those. I know I do. Stop worrying about the future. That's a harder one for a lot of people, me
Stop
included.
regretting the past. Stop worrying about the future. Yeah.
Stop regretting the past. Stop worrying about the future. And this is the piece. This is the studies I found. Like, and again, yes, I know they can fake studies and blah blah blah, but there was a couple of seemingly well put together studies that said that suggested that 85% of the things people worry about daily never happen.
I mean, that almost strikes me as a low number.
Never happen.
Yeah.
Right? So that just goes to like the psychology of things, you know, what we think about, what we spend our time doing. Stop looking for your happiness in other people. Like, that's a you thing, you know? Like,
That's right.
Other people can't make you happy. Your worries, most of them are never going to happen.
And even if they do, then you're in that experience.
Right.
Worrying about it didn't help.
Exactly. It happened, regardless of whether you worried about it or not.
And maybe there was good in it.
Yeah.
And maybe
You
it
learned
was meant to
something.
be. And maybe you learned something.
something.
And maybe an outcome that you didn't expect that was great came out of it.
Totally.
And all that stuff.
And that's a piece that's one of the silver linings of the local culture to me, is the fact, again, not all, but many of them inherently are present. They live.
Yeah, that's like what this society has, that those high spiritual lessons that they never were taught, they just are.
Yeah.
That we're trying to, in the West, we're like, oh my God, we got to figure this out. They like have it here.
Yeah, it's inherent. It's organic in them, you know, it's innate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
It is beautiful.
Because it's always a reminder, no matter where I go, you know, back in the States, or before I was more integrated with locals, you know, it's easy to get in and get into the routine of things, of life, of the machine, of the matrix, and then occasionally get a reminder to be present, you know, like, you know, after time. And here it's like almost everywhere I go now, I have a reminder. It's like, hey man, take a breath, be present.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, if you can't slide into that to some degree here and take on the value system of this place, one of which is presence, but really, like, a big part of that is money's not first, people are first, relationships are first. You have to be kind, you have to help, you have to sort of be generous. Like all those if you can't, to some degree, like take on that value system, this place won't do it for you. Like you're not, you know, it'll suck here. Like you won't, you know, you won't sort of be part of things, and you'll just kind of, it'll be weird to you, and you'll be annoyed by everything because everything's annoying if you're coming from the standpoint of efficiency, time is money, I got to get where I'm going, I'm in a rush, I want order, I want, you know, everything laid out and proper and, you know, have on time. Dude, if that's like, and we all come from that to some degree, but if that's like your value system, like if you actually value that, not like I come from that, but I'm sure ready for a change. If it's not that, if it's like, no, that's what I want, those are my values. I mean, this place is hell on earth.
Right.
This place is hell on earth. I mean, you know, we're coming today, we get stuck behind a procession, you know, for 20 minutes, that they're just very slowly walking down the street, playing music, doing their thing. And, you know, New York Jesse would have been like, you know, pissed. Like, these people are like slowing me down, and I'm in a rush, you know? New York Jesse would have been pissed. Like, current Jesse was commenting to Fernando and the taxi driver who's running us up here, you know, how nice it is that they have these traditions that still exist and that actually matter to people, and people show up and attend, and it like keeps that whole community, like tight-knit community thing going, and they've got it all decorated and it's beautiful and like awesome. Like it's lovely, and you know, it's almost nice that I have to wait 10 minutes or whatever it was, you know, to get through, because I could witness this kind of night, you know, but those are two very different perspectives. Like, one person is going to see that and be like, this place is absurd.
Right, I'm so annoyed.
Right. And, you know, that's kind of true of everything. Perspective is everything. I came across this article, and I read the whole thing just because of how I wanted to understand the perspective, and I just thought it was so funny. But I came across this article, which I didn't save, unfortunately, but I came across this article where...
It was like one paragraph?
It was, right. It was like 5
Okay.
paragraphs.
Right.
It wasn't long. It was basically, it was a hit piece on the on the ayahuasca tourism industry.
Oh, I read that too.
You read that?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So it's a hit piece on the ayahuasca tourism industry in Ecuador, right? And I saw the headline, and the headline was very angry. It was like, foreigners are destroying, Ecuador because of this ayahuasca tourism. And the reason I read it is because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, there's not much ayahuasca tourism here. First of all, it's all in Peru. There isn't really, it's not that no one comes here to do ayahuasca. That does exist here, but it's really not a thing in this country. There's really not ayahuasca tourism in Ecuador. So that was why I clicked on it. I'm like, what is this talking about, right? And I'm like, what kind of terrible misinformation are they giving you? And the entire article was just I guarantee the person who wrote it has never been here. Guarantee that the person who wrote it has never been here. That they've never interacted with any of the tribes that they were talking about. That they have no idea what the cultural significance is of any of the stuff they were talking about. Blah, blah, blah. And they wrote this entire article basically saying foreigners and money and foreign culture are destroying the indigenous tribes of Ecuador and their way of life and their culture and the sort of way they honor plant medicine and because of their attitudes and because of ayahuasca tourism. And then I'm thinking look, do I hang out with tribes in the Amazon all day every day? No. But do I know some of those people? Have I been to some of these places? Have I interacted? Do I understand that? Have I, do I get those lineages? Yes. Bro, none of that's happening.
Right.
None of that is happening in any way. And so, yeah, it's all perspective, right? My perspective, on that, for example, just on is if a human being on Earth has a chance to tap into a lineage that has some wisdom and has some knowledge and has some healing capacity or modality or whatever, and that person is able to tap into that, that's a beautiful thing.
Right, in an authentic way.
In an authentic way, right. If it now there is look, there's darkness in everything. There are places in Peru and maybe in Ecuador or somewhere that I don't know about that it's just about the money and they're just it's sort of spiritual tourism and it's lost its essence.
Those are the people I have heard that medicine men are not good with they're
course.
what? Stop this! This is ruining. So maybe that's what they're referring to in this piece.
Sure,
because that's a thing. But
that is a thing. Yeah.
But it's not a big thing here for sure.
No.
Yeah.
No, that is a thing. No question. I mean, I agree with the perspective that the West, in many ways, has lost its soul.
Yeah.
And has sort of cheapened everything.
Yeah.
Sure, that's true. We can agree on that. But it was just the hit. It's just funny to me. The disinformation that it was it's just negative fear, disinformation, it's so bad, it's horrible, we're all dying, it's all that, in 10 years the water level is going to be,
Right. And that's why you and I live where our soul blooms, baby.
That's actually on a t-shirt.
That is on
it's
a
not
t-shirt.
just that it should be on a t-shirt. It is on a t-shirt.
It is on a t-shirt, baby.
I came across this article, so it's in English. Ecuador to probe income of judges who free criminal suspects.
That's on mine too, yeah.
2 weeks in a row.
Boom.
Because we were talking last week about, they've just stiffened dramatically penalties, jail time for cops and military who are corrupt, but also for criminals who can be shown to be affiliated with gangs and cartels. And we were trying to figure out the judge piece.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to now use the financial aspect.
They're going to audit the personal assets of judges, a financial asset review of judges who grant pre-trial release to violent criminals.
It's awesome.
Carried out by the Financial and Economic Analysis Unit of Ecuador within the Ministry of the Interior.
I think you're in charge of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I should be.
That's true, actually.
That's awesome, dude. When I saw that, because I know we talked about that.
Right.
And then for this to be in place, that's a big deterrent now. If a judge knows that my financial assets are now going to be under scrutiny, face,
it makes it a lot harder.
it makes it much harder.
Makes it
I
a
mean,
lot
it's still possible, of
Yeah,
course,
of course.
but much harder.
Right.
And,
then-
much
if
more
that- if
thoughtful,
that
and much more intent, you know.
Right. If that extends to family members, which I don't know, but if that extends, like, can they look at the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, and
I'd
see?
imagine they're
Right. You would think, but I
yeah,
don't know.
Who
but,
knows? Yeah. That's an interesting one, and I hope that reverberates throughout the gangster world.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely seeing Bukele signs here.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome.
We'll
you
see.
know, like
We'll
there's
see.
folks that I've talked to here. They're happy with the direction of things. It feels like the direction of Ecuador, from a macro perspective, is on a good trajectory. And again, a lot of this type of stuff, where this direct impact, where stuff like this has direct material impact, isn't even close to where we are. Now there's trickle down effects over time and that stuff, but this is going to make differences, hopefully, in some of these port cities, some of these bigger cities, some of these bigger population centers. And
yeah, the difference is, like, before, you could travel anywhere in Ecuador without thinking about your safety really at all.
Right.
And now, there's places that, like, I wouldn't go. There's places in the country that I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case before. And so, it'd be nice.
Yeah, that's one for me. Like, growing up in Chicago, there was parts of Chicago
Of course, there's parts of every city in the world, pretty much. Not Loja, but there's parts of almost any city in the world you wouldn't go.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I think, for people that haven't been here, that's one of the disconnects.
Yeah.
Because where they're from, most people are probably an hour from,
or 20 minutes, or 10
20
minutes,
or way closer than they think from a place that has a per capita murder rate than Vilcabamba, or Loja.
Has a higher. Well, I mean, Vilcabamba doesn't have a murder rate.
Right. Well, that's what I'm just saying.
Zero.
Like, right. So the fact that the places in Ecuador that get publicized, where Ecuador's got a murder rate of blah, 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 as a country, well, it's freaking the size of Colorado, right? And 90% of them are in these 4 cities. And 90% of those are criminals, right? So, okay, that are 14 hours away and involved in organized crime. Historically, like,
Yeah,
okay.
it has nothing to do with here.
Right.
No, that's a really important point. I mean, so I would literally, I'm saying this as literally as I possibly can. This is not hyperbole, or I'm not making a point, or literally. The murder rate in Vilcabamba has to be the exact same as the town I grew up in. So I grew up in a town of 6,000 people called Putney in Vermont, southern Vermont. Putney, Vermont. Farmers, rednecks, hippies. There was no murders of any kind ever. I mean, I don't know if that's literally, the murder rate was 0. That's Vilcabamba. I mean, I think, when I say literally, okay, I'm sure once every 10 years, there's some domestic dispute, or some buddies got angry at each other and someone shot someone. I'm sure that took place, but so it probably wasn't actually, but annually it probably was 0. Over a decade it was 0.000001 or something.
Yeah.
That's Vilcabamba. So I mean, there's been, that I'm aware of in Vilcabamba, I think there was 1 murder since 2010. 2 actually, because there was an Ecuadorian that got into a brawl at 3 o'clock in the morning in one of those parties, and got stabbed with a bottle or something and died. So he died. There was a Canadian real estate agent a year or 2 before I got here that died, that there's different rumors about, who knows. But those are the only 2 murders I'm aware of in this area in the last 15 years or whatever. I mean, it's important to
Right.
And I'm not talking about Loja. I'm not talking about Loja or other, further other places. I'm just talking about this town, this area. But,
it's good context for people to try and understand it, to try and think through that. Like, where do I live now? How close am I to this area, to the town I live in, that I'm like, oh, there's murders here? Again, if you just don't know, and if you're not you don't feel like you're in a dangerous place, maybe that's okay. You can always find the danger. Again, it's like, what are you seeking? What are What do you want to find? You want to find the danger? You want to find the dark? You want to find it? Guess what? It's not hiding.
You know what there is here, though?
What's that?
There's clean freaking rivers, man.
There's clean
that
rivers.
refresh your body, mind, and soul. Oh, gosh. I'm looking forward to doing that a little bit later on today.
It's a little warmer today.
It's warm enough. It's For me, it's, bro, the river is, it helps me.
Yeah,
it helps me.
I wish we actually had, you know, this is me like wishing Vilcabamba had a deeper river.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
You know, like
there's only a few spots.
There's a few spots that are like good swimming holes.
No,
or swimming spots.
there's no great swimming.
But there's not like a big,
No.
you know, like.
No, it'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a lake.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if there was like a really swimmable river,
right,
like you're talking about.
Yeah, I missed that a little bit. I'm not. Yeah.
But just, you know,
general,
if you're talking about just like how you feel and health benefits, if you just get in the water and go underneath, it does something. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and you even talk to locals. They'll talk about that. They talk about the mineralization in the water, and you know, your skin feels different. Like your skin physically feels different getting out of the river.
And your energy and your like, it clears you tremendous. It's amazing.
No, it's really cool, man.
Good.
No, I was just thinking, you know, you were talking about, you know, earlier about the parties and the celebrations and the inaugurations, and this is one I'm not sure about, because I don't know if you noticed, we haven't had the friend of the show.
Rooster.
We had Rooster. October's not been cockadoodle doing, you know. So I don't know if I shared with you the origin of October. So we had chickens. We hatched them, you know, from eggs. That's where they come from, Jesse.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know which came first. But for us, the eggs came first, and then the chickens.
Yeah.
And one of them was a rooster, and the rest were hens. And we were like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we nurtured them, grew them, and then, you know, Raul found a couple of smaller, you know, baby chickens that got abandoned.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, I'm just going to put them in here. Hopefully they'll, you know, be accepted by the flock. They weren't super old at that time, and neither set of chickens. And I think two of them died. One of them lived. Well, that guy ended up being a rooster.
Yeah.
And our rooster, and in October, they were not getting along. So and I'm learning about chicken behavior, and I'm like, oh, that's normal. Like they're fighting for whatever. Well, we thought the bigger rooster.
What are they fighting for?
Yeah, so the bigger rooster, we thought he was the mean one, and he was getting aggressive with the kids. He was getting aggressive with Tiff, and partly now I'm wondering because he was fed up with this younger rooster that was causing a problem, right? So we ended up getting rid of our main rooster, and gave him the Dario.
Yeah.
And then we had October, and he's very, you know, he's like the epitome of like Ecuadorian bravado. He's flying out of the coop, cockadoodle on the top of the fence, like coming up to the windows, where, you know, like cockadoodle doo, mother, you know, he comes right up here. You saw he comes right up here, like
interrupts us.
Yeah, like
Steals
intentionally,
your attention.
like he'll look at you and be like,
distracts you.
They're recording. I'm gonna cockadoodle, right? So he was that, but like, all right, whatever, he's cool. Then all of a sudden, we see a couple of the hens that have some feathers missing, and we're like, we're not observing, we didn't see anything bad. And then Raul tells us, he's like, hey, I think you need to get rid of October. He's not treating the hens well. So, like, okay, then, you know, we go down there, and we had these other, you know, those other baby. We had maybe 3 or 4 babies that are now maybe 3 or 4 months old. We thought hens. Well, we found one of them is a rooster. We didn't know. We go down there, and October's got the one that's the rooster, who we named Solo, because he's only got one eye. He's got like skin covering, you know, one eye. And Solo's like a big, beautiful, thought was a hen. Sorry, Solo. And his head is all, I mean, October tore his head up, right? He's bleeding all over. Mm-hmm. So we
eliminating the competition.
Right. So we and Raul's like, hey, you know, you should really get rid of October, you know, and keep Solo, and hopefully Solo's okay. So Tiff gets Solo, and we clean his head off, and we put him in, you know, where we keep the baby chicks before they're mature enough to go in with the rest of the flock. and he's just resting. And then I'm trying to capture October, and he knew. Dude, he knew. He just like sat down, knew. I grabbed him I grabbed him. He like tried to avoid, and then he kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
I got him by his neck, and I'm putting him in this horse food bag, and I take it, and I'm gonna bring him over to Dario. So I got him. He's done. He just knows, like, and I'm like, I'm being a jerk, not like mean to him, but like how we're gonna eat you, like being kind of an asshole. Yeah. But even though I can't do that. Like I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could actually kill the chicken and eat it. I know, and I still eat chicken. Yes, yeah. But I can't. I don't know if I could do that. Maybe I could, but right now I couldn't. And I didn't like seeing the other chicken bleeding. I wanted to fix. I was the guy in college. I can't even believe I'm going to share this. We were in the summer between my junior and senior year in college. Yep. We worked at this Goodyear tire warehouse. Me and two of my buddies. We lived in a fraternity house. Yep. And one day we were putting up new racks because it was a new warehouse. So they were still building some of the racks for the tire inventory. Mm-hmm. And they were bringing in pallets of this racking material that they were building. And I found a nest with a baby bird in the racking material. And the guys were building, they just kind of threw the nest. I'm the sucker that took the nest home
that's awesome.
And tried to nurture the baby and had it on a heating pad. Did
it work?
No, I killed it. But I didn't try. Like I was trying. Like I remember researching, like trying to heal the bird, right? So I'm that guy. So I was upset with this, and then I was kind of being like a jerk to October. Then I bring him over to Dario, and he opens the bag and he takes him. Well, first Grandma Teresa pulls it out, and then Dario, she calls Dario out, and Dario's like, "Wow!" He's like, "Well, that makes sense. That's a fighting bird. That bird." So they have certain roosters, certain breeds that they breed to fight because the cockfighting is a big thing culturally here, right? Yep. Not my thing. Like it's not something I cheer or whatever. But he's saying like that's why. He's like eventually that rooster would have killed your rooster and probably some of the hens. Like that's what he is. Like he was, so the fact that Raul just found him, he's like, yeah, because he was part of someone else's breeding line of cockfighting. So Dario's like, I'm gonna bring him to fight,
which is a common thing,
right? So here's my question. So
I gotta go.
No, you can't go.
I gotta go.
Wait. So do we, guys? If you made it this far, I was invited to go to this cockfight. Yep. Should I go? Should I video some of this? It's not my thing. It's part of the culture. I'm not here to change and manipulate, deter the culture. It's one of the things that's here. Should I go video or go observe the cockfighting here? If yes, say rooster or cock-a-doodle-doo or whatever you want to do. And if we get enough, maybe I can go and experience that and share it with you guys. Yeah, I'm really torn on what to think about it, but yeah. Guys, Jesse had to leave. He had to take a call. So I'm here for just another minute with you. I did want to share, where did it go? Let's see, we touched on that. Cost of living. Oh yeah, we were talking about cost of living. Then we kind of went off path here a little bit. But there are some other things like gasoline. So if you have a vehicle here, your gasoline, your diesel is about $1.75 a gallon. Your maintenance on your vehicles are much less. The labor to do so is much less. Most people don't have car insurance, so you don't even have that expense. As well as health insurance, most people don't have significant expenditure on health insurance. They go to clinics, they go use the free health care, or they go to private. So the costs for health care, for car maintenance, car repair, those are also much less significant than where I'm from in the States and where many of you guys are from. So those are a couple points that I want you to think about, because those are some of the day-to-day expenses that you have in regard to other things besides produce, like your everyday use, toiletries, that kind of stuff, consumables maybe. I would say those are like 3, maybe 4 times cheaper than where we're from in the States. So again, things that are made here are at least 3 times less expensive overall. So hopefully that helps. If you made it this far, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, check out the link below. Come visit us in August, the Vilcabamba Lifestyle Retreat. We hope to see you down here one day. We hope to see you down here one day, guys. So until then, we'll see you next time. Ciao, guys.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Taking this quick break to remind you, we run Vilcabamba Lifestyle Retreats. If you're interested in checking out this area, hanging out with us, getting all the information you could possibly want, and having a great time, check out the links below. Thanks so much. Back to the program.
Ready to buy a $500,000 property, and when we got in touch with the owners, the like children got involved, and they decided the price is now $5 million. I'm not joking. There's $500,000. There's $500,000. It was listed at $530,000. Kids got involved, and they told Rigo they want $5 million, and they're serious. This was not their way of saying off or anything like that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's retarded.
¿Ya estamos grabando o no?
Sí,
¿Desde cuánto tiempo?
recién nomás que acabé de poner los micrófonos a ustedes.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think I should give you horchata.
You shouldn't give me any?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I mean, look at all the liquids you have there.
But I don't have that liquid.
Yeah, but you might pee your pants. It's a lot. It's a lot.
My son is peeing the bed every night right now.
Ooh, JoJo?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he's on a roll.
hasn't been and is
He
now?
goes back and forth between being like no problem, like gets up, goes to the toilet, does his thing,
Yeah.
versus just multiple times in a night.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know,
Soaks
we
it
got the
up.
pee pad,
Yeah.
but then the pee pad has to get washed,
Yeah.
and it's like a whole
You
thing.
get it soaked up.
Yeah. Occasionally, like he'll pee his bed and then he's wet, and he'll come where I sleep, and then pee my bed later.
Ooh. No, man. I can't do that. It reminds me of, I have a buddy.
Yeah.
I won't name him.
He pees the bed.
In college,
Yeah.
he was notorious for the, overserved hookup evening, and
Overserved should be removed from the vocabulary.
I'm trying to say it nicely.
Yeah.
And then at about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, said female, "What the?"
She got a little freakier than she expected.
You got a little wet. Oh no.
All right. Well,
So that happened.
you gotta be famous for something.
Right? Oh, all right. Let's see if I can keep those out of my face. I think so. We'll see.
Hey, Christy, I'm just sitting down to record a pod, so I won't be able to get back to you on some of this stuff now for a few hours. But I will do so when I can. Yeah, that one, just while I have you here, my understanding is you can drive to a certain point, but then you have to walk up to the house. It should say that in the ad. So yeah, there isn't car access to the house, I believe, and I can check on all this for you. I believe you could put something in so you could get like a motorcycle up there, but I need to double check on that. And price-wise, yeah, I mean, it's negotiable. He actually has some pressure he'd like to sell, so, you know, I don't have a number or anything. It's a really good price, but it is negotiable, so, yeah. All right, I'll be back in touch later on this afternoon. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun. Yeah.
Such a nice tone to your voice sometimes.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Sometimes.
thanks. Thanks,
Right.
Brandon. Thanks. My tone. I got that nice voice tone.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Okay.
Ow.
Close this. Dude, I was reading about this.
You're reading everything. Hmm?
What is this place called? It's called. It's in the Ecuadorian Amazon. It's called
Yeah.
Tiputini Biodiversity Station.
Don't know that.
So it's apparently this. It's like 6.5 square kilometers of arguably the most biodiverse
Nice.
area
or
on
something,
Earth.
yeah.
But there's a professor or researcher named Diego Mosquera.
Yeah.
But he's down like he you know, they've interviewed him. I guess it's like really difficult to get to, and
Okay.
I'm gonna share some of how you get there.
Yeah.
And then there's not facilities. You know, it's not like you can just go visit. You know, it's not
Right.
like a tourist thing. It's for researchers to study, to understand,
Mm-hmm.
without, you know, disrupting, being the least disruptive as possible. So I think they can only have like 20 researchers at a time.
They must helicopter in or something.
Well, apparently he says that he thinks, based on his research, he thinks that it has the heaviest or the most dense population of jaguars
Oh, cool.
on Earth.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but like rare dogs, anteaters, ocelots, thousands of species of birds. He's got over 10,000 species of insects.
So cool.
But, you know, he talks a little bit about a story 11 years ago. He fell in love with the jungle and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now that's like his home. Not like blah, 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 like I'm dismissing it, but
No,
it's
yeah.
just like.
That's awesome.
But it's not, so this is how you get there. A flight from Quito to the Amazonian city called Coca,
Yeah.
then a 3-hour canoe ride,
Yeah.
then a 3-hour Jeep trip down a dirt road
Yeah.
through the jungle by where some of the oil companies are set up,
Ah.
which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
And sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. Followed by an additional couple hours in a canoe to reach the research center.
Yeah.
So there's like botanists and primatologists and entomologists and zoologists and scientists from all over the world that are like stationed there trying to get in there,
Oops.
trying to study, trying to, you know, be able to observe
Yeah.
some of the stuff. And it was cool because, you know, now, again, this is like the double-edged sword of technology where,
Right.
you know, you weren't able, he talks about how, you know, I'm able to fly a drone now and see, like, he's like, it's so densely biodiverse that the ecosystems at the tree canopies are materially different than midair, than the ground, and it's like, he's like, they're different worlds,
Wow.
and we've never been able to like see or
Right.
observe.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just really, it's really cool. They're like setting up these like camera trap photos
Yeah.
so that they can see kind
Like
of.
when there's movement, they snap. Type
Right,
of thing. Yeah,
right.
That's awesome.
But wait, where was this? Yeah, he's saying that when I was starting to fly the drones, I was able to see this picture of a pristine forest that basically hasn't changed in over 10,000 years.
Wow.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's just been undisturbed, and he's like, you can understand it. They're trying to understand the complexity of the forest, the lakes, the natural clearings, and they're using like drone sensors, like specialty sensors, and this to study the phrenology of the forest and how the trees produce fruits compared to what the animals actually do, to just like understand, you know, just observing.
Yeah.
No, it's really. It was. I'm like, man, it made me really want to go there, and then.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's really. There's 20 people, and it's, you know. You have to
you
provide
don't-
value.
you don't- right. Yeah, I don't think we can,
I don't think we're getting in.
you know,
Maybe we could get like
knowing like the baseball scores.
You know what we might be able to do? We might be able to find the contact, and you know, if they have technology, it might be do like a Zoom call.
Yeah, oh, that would be really.
That would be cool.
Interviewing him would be fun.
I mean, I'm sure he would love.
Dude,
I
let's
mean, they're
do that.
applying for grants.
Let's do that. You want me to put it on the
Yeah,
list?
put it on the list. They're applying.
That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
What Mosquera?
Diego Mosquera, and it is the Tiputini, T-I-P-U-T.
Hold on. All right, try and interview Diego
Mosquera.
Mosquera of the Tipu
He manages the Tiputini, T-I-P,
Tiputini, yeah.
Biodiversity Station.
Biodiversity Estación.
Estación.
Very cool. All right,
Yeah, I
I'm
thought it
sure
was
we
pretty
can
cool.
probably make that happen. No, I mean we can't necessarily, we can't go there, but we do need to at some point go into the jungle on some of these like canoe trips
Yeah.
and do that because that's really cool.
Not only that, we got to go to these places. Go to these, go to, what is it, Cariamanga, or go to,
Talking about the giants.
go,
and stuff.
yeah, at least go check it out and talk to people, see what,
Changaimina.
Changaimina, yeah, Changaimina. I mean, there's all these different villages that we can, better understand the history, the culture, the tradition. There's things that, there's so much. The longer I've been here, there's so much. Is that your hanky?
This is my hanky. It's pretty
That's
gross.
like a dead thing,
Yeah,
huh?
it's
That's
pretty
like
gross.
I mean, Tiff and I were just talking about that, like our grandpas.
Had hankies.
Back in the day, they whip out the hanky out of
Yeah.
their pocket, blow their nose, and stick it back in.
And they
their
also had overalls. and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But
I think we're.
love you, Buck. Love you, Grandpa Chuck.
Did your grandfathers actually have a hanky for you?
Yeah.
I didn't really know my grandfathers.
Yeah. Tiff's Grandpa Chuck, and my grandpa, Bucku Fernando.
Bucku, huh?
They called him Bucku.
Is
His friends
the
called him
Italian
Dusty.
side or the
Yeah, it's Fernando.
Polish side?
No, that's the Italian side. Fernando.
Fernando.
Yeah, but the longer I've been here, the more you research and try and learn about Ecuador, or at least I have, the more it's just not available. Like,
Well, it's either not available or wrong.
or a lot of it's wrong. A lot of it's but it's just a lot of stuff is
Or
just
super
not there.
angry, biased, like.
Yeah, but I just mean documented.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Dude, it was like it's only recently that they even have weather stations in most of like a lot of
Right.
like when I was here before, like in this region, the only place they had an actual weather station where you knew the temperature was Loja.
Really?
That was it. There was no way to know like anywhere else in this region what the temperature was actually, for example.
Wow. You look good there, bud.
Thanks.
Man,
Thanks.
we're looking good. I wonder if I should.
All right. What did I want to say to you?
I don't know. What do you want to say?
I'm no remember.
I know say.
Oh yeah, I was driving, we were driving here today.
Put that not on your snot rags, please.
And
Oh no, bro. Oh.
we were driving here today and we got caught behind this procession
Yeah.
for the Fiestas de Yamorada.
See?
And I was just thinking, or actually I mentioned it to the taxi driver, Fernando. It was just so nice, like all the little traditions here.
Yeah.
That we just don't have any of that stuff really back home. And it's like it's indicative of how and why the people are so united and the culture is so
close, and the neighbors and neighborhoods and just the community is so the way it is. They have traditions that go back forever and that are still alive, and they do them, and it's awesome. Like it's easy to think that stuff doesn't mean anything, but it actually really does.
I 100% agree that it does.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff, that's the most important stuff.
How did you get egg on the leg of your
You ate eggs here? Is it like egg yolk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We put, if Raul brings eggs up, or sometimes he'll leave them here on this, maybe one crack.
That's the plausible
Perhaps.
explanation.
Yeah, that event, it's the infrastructure. They're celebrating the infrastructure improvement of the Yambarara Bajo community house.
Yeah, they're doing. Yeah, it's like the inauguration of the the community center, the Casa Comunal.
Yeah. You know how I know?
Victor.
Victor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He invited us.
Yeah.
He wants us to go.
Cool. Yeah. Well, Kirsten and Bella are dancing.
All right, so we're going anyway. Yeah. That's right. When are you going to dance? That's good. You have some moves. Pretty fly for a white guy.
What do they call it? It's like the white guy bounce or something. Like the white guy's shoulder.
The shimmy?
thing or something like that. Right?
My buddy Adam, this is the shimmy. He's got the shimmy down. Or it's the Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. Ding, ding, ding.
You know who can dance for real? My father.
Yeah?
He can dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be any wedding. It'd be him with his shirt off, surrounded by 20 women.
Dripping sweat.
Dripping sweat. Just boogieing.
Yeah.
But he has moves. He has rhythm inside a rhythm. He has it where he hits the beat, the middle beat, the third beat, he's and everything's moving different, and he's
that's awesome. I have one of my buddies that I went to preschool with, kindergarten, Charlie Abate. Love you, Charlie. He has always had that. His body has joints that I don't even know exist that can hit, and he's got the moves, and it's just it's pretty fun to watch him dance and be jealous. Man, I wish I could move like that.
Oh, bro, I really pulled a muscle. It hurts.
Yeah, you know what that's related to?
Age?
Nope.
No?
No, I mean, we already talked about this. I diagnosed you.
I don't recall.
Your childhood traumas.
Oh, right. I forgot of your diagnosis.
Right, I'm a healer, bro.
Bro. And Ian's coming back to basketball, and I'm not going to be able to play.
Ah.
I'm it's not really getting better. When is it?
Let thy nature be thy medicine.
What's today? Thursday. I tweaked it Monday. Yeah, it's not
When is
really
he coming
better
back?
since Monday. I think he could have played tomorrow. I don't even think I'm going to be able to play Monday. I might be out all next week.
Yeah, it's fair.
Wild.
It's a good lesson for you.
Thanks, Brandon.
You're welcome.
Have you take more off my plate? Is that where we're going here?
Nope.
I'm okay with that.
You gotta find that balance.
I mean, you got your
Gotta find that balance.
you got your workstation
bed
now,
desk.
so
Oh God,
I think that counts for the uptick in productivity.
I debated gosh, I know what this means. If I get this, then you're gonna
have to work
I'm gonna be able
a little
to
bit here and there once in a while.
Oh, please. Do you think my name is Jesse Bear? But I debated. Sometimes I'd be sitting in bed and I got pillows and I can't find it, and it's overheating because the pillows stuff the fan and blah.
Because it's a Hewlett Packard or something.
Hewlett Packard, yes, it's a Hewlett Packard. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's no space. I like my mouse, my detached Bluetooth mouse, and I love it.
Fry your balls while
Yeah,
you
well, I mean, I'm good. I'm done with that.
fry away. Maybe I should get one of these mouses.
Yeah, no kidding. Just glue it, duct tape it to your shorts. Leave it on all
Maybe
the
I
time.
should turn on all the stuff on my phone. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but there's like no place for the mouse, and then you get frustrated, and now that it sets up, it breathes, it's got the space for the mouse, you got the little light at night.
It's the little things in life, baby.
It's the little things, baby. Little things. I could sit on the couch. It's like I can sit on the balcony up there in a chair. I can sit in bed. I mean, those are
Doing
the
a
things.
lot of sitting.
Those are the things I've escaped, like from, in a way, like
What?
all the conveniences to make work easy to say, like, I'm gonna work now. I'm gonna work now. I'm gonna work. Like that's like the whole point of corporate America now, is like making you feel comfortable so you never want to leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like little
Coffee,
productivity
drinks.
hacks.
Yeah.
How do we maximize productivity?
Yeah. They've been studying that for years. They have it pretty well mastered. And now almost to as weaponized.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have human cattle,
Yeah.
you gotta make them comfortable.
Right.
So you can keep eating that beef.
Yeah. Eating that beef, creating that methane.
Right. Why is it just cow farts? Why isn't it human farts? I mean, I can't believe, like, that's an actual thing. Like, I always thought that was kind of a joke about the cow fart thing. But, like, they actually, Bill Gates, like, developed...
No.
Yeah. No, this is 100%. So Bill Gates developed a type of feed and that they're giving to cows in the UK so that they don't fart or something.
Oh.
And it's like a real thing, and the cows are getting sick and they're dying, and it's like a big problem. Like, they actually, like, this is an actual thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
I mean, is it though?
well, I mean, I just mean that
That part. Is
that
actually-
that narrative was taken seriously enough by enough people in power that they got government approvals and probably grants and even laws. I think some of it was like obligatory. It was like you have to give them the Bill Gates feed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
the UK. I mean, the UK.
Any entity living off Earth has got. I mean, are they laughing or crying at some of this stuff?
Yeah, they're definitely amused.
I mean, they're entertained, right? Yeah, they're definitely entertained. I mean, right now has got to be some of the most. I mean, I would argue that it's some of the most entertaining time ever.
Yeah.
Definitely in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And
You mean in the political arena and
just in pop culture.
right, that's the right word.
Yeah, in pop culture. And I would also argue that most people I know don't view it that way.
Well, of course, right.
Right, so, and that's what's so interesting to me still about the whole, like, no matter whether I want to not talk about Donald Trump, I can't escape from the phenomena of Donald Trump. Not that I'm even trying to, but
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Like, it's such an intriguing. I hope they do case studies on this someday, on the phenomenon of Donald Trump, because no matter who I talk to,
Yeah.
Donald John Trump lives rent-free in their head.
Yeah.
And right at the tip, like right at the edge, right, front
Yeah, well,
of
that's
mind,
because
man.
But I mean, like, in the bigger picture, certainly not the biggest picture, but in a bigger picture, it's because it matters if the U.S. falls or not. It matters.
Yeah, it does, and it's interesting though that it's not really about. It's not even their opinions, their visceral reactions, their perceptions, their critiques aren't about the fall or not of the United States.
Of course.
They're like,
Right.
And again, there's obviously people that don't fall into these categories, but they're the progressive left, liberal, Democrat, people that identify with views and part of them are, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, Orange Man bad, Trump Hitler,
Yeah.
like it's literally clown.
They're the devil, like him and Elon.
He's
and
not only the
RFK
devil, but he's this, like a clown, a buffoon, a rapist, murderer, big, you name it, misogynist. Like he's all of that. Like no matter what. Like so, like for me, like I've tried as I've grown up, as I continue to grow, to mature, I've tried to separate the message from the man. I don't need to judge everybody's character. I don't need to I want to discern general character of people to determine whether I want to consider their perspective, perception, opinion, ideas, yada yada. Yes, but I don't need to have a full audit of their spoken word, shared idea, misspeaks. Like I don't need that to discern or to evaluate a new idea or a statement they've made in the present moment. Like to say, well, I'm discounting that because they said this before, or I think he did this. Like I don't need to do that. But then on the other side, you have people that identify Republican, conservative. Those folks, he's a hero. He's the white knight. He's saving America. He's he's MAGA. He's cleaning up the trash. He's making America great. Like he's really all that, right? No matter what. And then the other interesting piece of the whole Trump phenomenon to me is now we're seeing, with social media, we see, some of these world leaders that are other world leaders that are attacking, criticizing him, like actively now, because it's just like, I suspect there's clout chasing going on because he is the Trump phenomenon and he lives rent free in everybody's head somehow. But they're attacking him publicly in social media. And then the irony of that is you see footage or news, videos of meetings with these same people, and they're
very cordial,
they're cordial and they're like kissing
his,
It's just such a, I don't know. To me, it's very entertaining. I'm beyond the days of being triggered by a politician, and I'm okay accepting that there may be more to Trump than just politician on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to me.
Yeah, to me also. Yeah, just going back to a couple things you said, like, it's so easy to judge, and if your criteria for judging someone is if they've ever done anything that you don't like,
right?
You're going to be alone in the world, and including your family and your children and there's yourself for sure, but you wouldn't judge that because
right.
But yes, exactly. So yeah, I don't enjoy those kinds of arguments that are like, oh, what this guy has to say, as anyone, like what this guy has to say is bad or meaningless or doesn't count or isn't valid because look at this thing he did at some point, or look at this, look at like this thing I'm judging about him. So there's that. And then, yeah, just like, I really enjoy the idea, the phenomenon that is very accurate to me, where, whatever you judge, you experience. there's a phrase for it that is not, it's not like what you judge persists, but there's something like that that says whatever you something persists, basically meaning judgment, but you know, that's just how this all works. So if you see, you know, you're seeing evil everywhere, or you're seeing darkness everywhere, or you're seeing, you know, this person is, you know, this horrible thing that I can never live with, and I'm gonna die if this goes this way.
Yeah, you're kind of inviting the vampire into your house.
You're inviting the vampire in your house, and you're just seeing an aspect of yourself that's unresolved in your psyche.
Right.
That's it.
And that's what's unique about the vampire analogy, because you invite him into your house, but the vampire is you, but when you look in the mirror, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Whoa! Bro!
That's very good. That's very good. That's true. That's very good. No, it's true though. It's true.
Dude, that was a good one.
That was a good one. No, that was actually truly a good one. Yeah, so I agree. I mean, for me, the quote-unquote world stage isn't worth much. It's not something I pay close attention to. The value that it has for me is sort of twofold. One is entertainment. So if I want to spend a few minutes on X, just kind of seeing what the latest machinations are, I can get, you know, 10, 15 minutes of enjoyment out of that occasionally. So there is this sort of entertainment value, but then it's also, for me, it's like I use it a little bit as a measuring stick for the consciousness on the planet.
Yeah.
So it's like it kind of tells you where things are at in terms of human consciousness. I was watching, I was scrolling X, I think it was last night for a few minutes, and I saw, which is literally the only place like I get any, you know, I don't follow or pay attention to any news sources of any kind. My YouTube is filled with consciousness stuff and spiritual stuff.
Boho yoga.
And
You search that every day.
for a couple of years I did one video of hers every day, so that's probably on there quite a bit. A little 45-minute yin yoga routine, man, getting those hips, trying to get those hips and side body.
You better go find her back, because I mean, you got that you know, spinal tweak.
Yeah.
You're dealing with.
I don't think I did. I forgot. I was gonna chat GPT this, but I didn't. Like, are you supposed to stretch pulled muscles? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
you probably don't want it to get
hurts.
tight. You know, it depends on what muscle. You probably want to heat it.
Yeah, I've been doing that.
I've been heating it.
I have one of those hot water packs or whatever, and it I'm sitting there with it on my back yesterday, and all of a sudden it just burst.
Oh,
It was like boiling water all over me, and I had to like. It's pretty funny,
and
but
then an hour later, JoJo peed on you.
and my back was healed. But yeah. So the measurement of consciousness. But I'm looking, and I saw this 3 minute clip, 1 to 3 minute clip of
Thank you for clarifying that detail.
of Tucker Carlson interviewing Ted Cruz.
Okay. Like recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he says to Ted Cruz, he's like Israel. He's like Israel, AIPAC. He's like, I've never taken any money from the Israel lobby. Have you? and Ted Cruz is like, well, and then they spend like 2-3 minutes in a very uncomfortable, like it was dripping with how uncomfortable Ted Cruz was.
Right.
Tucker was like in his, you know, he's enjoying it, but where Ted Cruz is trying to explain how AIPAC is not a foreign lobby and it doesn't represent Israel, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Tucker's just like, that's not true. And it was just, yeah. So
did he sit there like this though the whole time?
yeah, I mean, he slaughtered him, and Ted Cruz was just, I mean, squirming.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, of course.
For Ted Cruz. But it's interesting because, you know, if you look, you know, and I don't know if you feel the same about this, but like for me, you know, I started paying it, you know, when I was a kid, my parents were very liberal. NPR was like what would be on in my house National Public Radio was kind of like in the car, in the house. We didn't have TV when I was growing up, so I didn't grow up with the news, but I grew up with a lot of NPR, which kind of shaped my views when I was young.
Yeah, you're so well-rounded.
Right. So, super liberal. I mean, I remember my mom being like devastated when they confirmed that Supreme Court justice that had been accused of some kind of like sexual thing. It was like a conservative, Clarence Thomas, I think it was.
Back in the day.
Back like when I was a kid, I'm talking about. I remember this really, my mom being very affected by this as like, and so you just grow up with the beliefs you're given, right? So I'm just thinking like, like conservatives and Republicans are evil, and like Democrats and liberals are good, and that's just like how I grew up, and I was telling this for a reason. What were we? Ted Cruz. Oh yeah, right. So then, for me, I didn't start paying attention to politics like myself until probably my like early to mid 20s. So I got really into like Obama's first election. What year was that?
That was 08?
Okay, right. So
8 to 12?
So I would have been like 24, or no, 26. 08, I would have been 26. So, and then who was before him was Bush?
Yep.
Okay, no, so I was actually into it for Bush's whole time, which was 8 years, right? So then that would have been 8. So I guess like 18, I guess I was paying attention by then, because I remember being, I really hated Bush and was in, I was big on that.
On the September 11th, you had an opinion, a negative opinion about Bush at that time?
Well, I didn't.
That was uncommon.
Well, I don't know,
acutely.
like, after September. I'm just saying, like, when he was elected, that was the first time, the second time. Like, I remember like, the Al Gore Bush election, that was a big one for me.
Right.
I really wanted
Florida.
Al Gore, because he's going to save the planet, and all this crap.
Did he do Inconvenient Truth after that?
Yes, that would have to have been
after.
after that.
Okay.
That would have to have been after that. Yeah, and then there was the John Kerry was probably I guess Gore lost to Bush the first time probably, and then Kerry the second time. Yeah. Is that right?
I don't
so those
recall,
these were important to me, at the time. Anyways, then in 2000, like by the later 2000s, that's when I kind of picked my head up out of the sand, and there was actually a moment for me a little bit. Like I had written these papers that I got a bad grade on. It was like anything with words for me in school was an A without even having to put any effort in. And the professor at Brooklyn College, who was a hardcore socialist, Bill Fletcher, I like you, good guy. But he's kind of known a little bit in some circles. He's like a union labor guy. But he was singing the praises at the time of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela.
Oh boy.
We all saw how that turned out. And was a really hardcore socialist. I mean, we were studying, Marx and the whole nine. And anyways, he gave me a bad grade on this paper because I think he didn't like the topic, which was I wrote it on 9/11 conspiracy theories. And that was interesting for me because I read a number of books, like outlining, and that was like first time I started being like, like is there something that I don't know about type of thing. And then the second sort of like data point that like just planted some seeds. I think I might have told you this before. I'm sitting there. This is in my gambling days. Yeah. So my work is reviewing game tape. So I'm literally like, I sit there going like this all day, every day, studying the games. And for some reason, I clicked on C-SPAN, and they had the 1964 or 68, something like that, maybe 68, Democratic National Convention. And Jesse Jackson was there, and that guy who ran for president, I can't remember, maybe was it Mondale or something, he was there, and some of these figures from back in the day. There might have even been like a young John Kerry, I don't remember, but these guys are there. And I watched, for some reason, it like piqued my interest, and I watched maybe 2-3 hours of it, or an hour of it, or like enough time to get a good... And the thing that struck me, that really blew me away, was the arguments, not only like the arguments from an analytical standpoint of like what does this argument mean, but actually the specifics were the same. as they were arguing in whatever year that was, probably in the area of 2006 or something. The same. They were fighting for pro women's rights and abortion, and they were fighting against the war, and they were fighting for the environment, and they were against. It was like all the talking points, all of the things they were angry about, the things they were talking. And again, at that time I was in favor of that political ideology, but it was shocking to me. I'm like, this is 50 years later. And you could have literally just translated education and race.
How did you guys not fix this yet?
Race,
If this was so important.
Race and feminism and education and blah, blah, on and on, right? Women's rights, all this. So that was like the second thing that kind of planted a seed for me.
Yeah.
And then, but anyways, the point I was trying to, so then I completely shifted later and kind of felt like, I came to the conclusion, without making it a longer story, I came to the conclusion of, there are no sides. There is no left-right divide.
False
it's total.
Yeah.
There's a kind of controlling power that then gets people to fight based on political ideologies that play on your emotions and play on
typically on the social fringes.
On the social issues.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Like religion and gender and race and all this crap, and they try to divide people, and they get, blah, blah. Anyway, so I came to that view, and in probably 2010, 11, 12, and so then I retreated from politics completely, because I'm like, this is all just a show. Right. None of this is real at all. It's all fake. They're just trying to get you to get upset at each other and basically give them energy, and so I then tuned out completely, because I already knew the script. So I already knew what would take place and was taking place without having, because I already, I figured all that out. And so I say all that to get back to the Tucker Carlson, what's his name, Ted Cruz thing, because for my whole lifetime, I've never seen narratives that weren't what I consider to be like the cabal, basically, like what I consider to be sort of the power structure, so to speak, in finance and politics and government and so on and so forth, media, of course. I've never seen a narrative that wasn't approved by them make it out in a large way, personally, in my lifetime. So, I've never seen like a large argument that was allowed to be like against Israel, for example. And that to me, going back to some of the stuff you were saying, but also this Ted Cruz thing, is like, that to me is what's different about right now, where it's like Tucker Carlson, who worked for Fox News, who you would think would be kind of, in a position and powerful enough and kind of in the club enough to some degree that maybe he would not be so independent, seems to be. And he has a massive following, as do all these other guys, who also seem to be, have their own views and be independent and call BS when it's BS and call out the things they don't like when they don't like them and all those kinds of things. And to watch, that's different to me about Trump and about the time we're in and about kind of some of the thought that's out there and the narratives that are out there and the people that are pushing them, and it seems like we're in a time now where the BS gets identified and exposed much more quickly, where the false actors, like the people who are trying to tell you they're your friend, but they're really just protecting these interests, that seems to be a lot more on display. And again, I just go back to that interview as like an example of that for me, of Tucker Carlson making Ted Cruz, who's obviously bought and paid for by AIPAC and all that, just like squirm in his chair as he's trying to defend an undefendable position.
Indefensible.
Yeah,
no, it's definitely interesting. I think some of it feels different because because of the state of technology and social media. So the avenues to get messages out were much more concentrated. And then, especially when you go back years and years, it was radio, and there was a few radio stations. Then it was a few TV stations, and that was easy to maintain the message, control the message.
Newspapers.
Newspaper, sure.
Yeah.
Which was even easier, right? In the print,
Right.
So then you go. Then all of a sudden, there's all these other TV stations, and the message starts being harder to contain. And then they can, then they consolidate and they buy up all the, and then you've seen, everybody's seen all those videos where it's the newscast, the news, all saying the same thing, word for word. Right. So then that gets concentrated, right? And then as the internet and some of these social media apps, like X, like Twitter, like Facebook, like, all that stuff, as those become harder and harder to actually regulate.
Yeah, or you could even just say like the internet in general.
Right, the Internet of Things, right? Yeah. Like that era made it really difficult to in a sophisticated, not tyrannical way,
which they kind of went into for
which
a little
they did
bit
a little bit,
in
right?
21.
Yeah, they did, but without like that blatant, everybody knows it. It started. You're starting to see people get popular because people actually agreed. More people, were waking up to that or like that opinion. So you saw.
And there was a way to get that message out. Like those platforms existed.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's true.
So I think that's a little. And now in the day,
which is awesome.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And I think now though, for me, I'm similar to you in the sense where I'll look at X and I'll scroll and I have things that I look for, and then I look at what's trending, and I look at pop culture, and I look at certain niches, like just to kind of see like what is the popular stuff they're trying.
Take the pulse.
Trying to right. So and then I still have friends that we have conversations on this stuff back in the States that are in it, so that I can get their perspective on, what I'm seeing to see, how do I calibrate or not and whatnot. But the fake actors or I don't know how you defined it, the guy, false actors. I might argue that it's getting harder.
Really?
Because of AI. Now, because we're in such a phase where we're in this hyperbolic, gloves off, kind of visceral, like, I don't know, keyboard warrior, but in social media, right? I mean, I was looking at the Islamic military verified Twitter that Iran.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, and they're like bragging, celebrating, hey, like be ready, like mocking, be ready and showing. And again, so could that be actually a video of them firing missiles? 100% it could be. Could it be an AI video that I can't tell the difference? 100% it could be. Could that be videos of them firing missiles somewhere into some abandoned, nobody lives there? Yeah. Could that be them firing missiles into Israel? Yeah.
I mean, that's been going on forever. I mean,
it has.
CNN got caught with that green screen stuff 20-something years ago.
I get it. I'm not saying that it's never happened before, but I'm just saying now with social media.
It's easier than ever.
It's easier than ever.
No question.
And not only that.
But it's easier rooted out than ever also. It's both. It's like easier to disseminate and easier for all the internet sleuths to figure out what's real and what isn't.
So did Iran bomb Israel? Did Israel bomb Iran?
I mean, probably.
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Who went first?
Right. Yeah.
Right. I don't know, man.
Right. But you knew before when it was just one source coming on and telling you?
Well, back then when you had when you had guys that were winning Pulitzer Prize following wars and they're taking video and
Dude, I mean this stuff came out recently that the entire Nixon takedown,
the Watergate
was was fabricated. Like, no aspect of it.
Yeah, well, we knew that then.
Well, okay, sure. I don't know.
I don't know. I thought we knew that.
I mean,
shortly
I don't know.
thereafter.
We weren't alive. I don't know.
I mean,
but
I mean, those are those.
But I'm just saying, like, if you can stage an event that large, where you take out a president,
Yeah.
a brand just elected, like recently elected by a wide margin. Like Nixon was very popular. He just had a landslide victory, and and Watergate comes out. And if you can, falsify something like that to that level where the president steps down, that is very indicative of total control of narrative.
Yeah.
Total control of narrative, where no one has any clue what's true or not. Whereas now, yes, I don't know. It's much easier to fake a video. It's much easier to fake what someone said. It's much easier to put some crazy narrative out that has nothing to do with the truth. Yeah, but it's also much easier to verify and look into it and figure it out and understand.
How?
Well, I mean, there's because of the amount of people that have access to the original, like, to the thing, where it's like...
that's always existed, though. It's just the difference now is the avenues. The difference now, like, all the people that had access to the Nixon stuff, there was tons of people. They just didn't have What do you mean
there was tons of people? Why do you say that?
Because...
I mean, there wasn't like, oh, here's the footage of X, Y, or Z, or here's the file, or here's the...
Yeah, but there were tons of people that were involved to do that knew the truth. There was no avenue for them to share. Or
maybe there was a team of like, a dozen or a couple dozen or...
And they were just silent.
I mean, that's been the nature of conspiracies forever. I mean, that's how all this shit.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the werewolf in the village studies, that it doesn't take many to conduct a conspiracy like that.
Right.
But something that big at that level, I don't know. There's probably way more people involved in something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Then we'd have to talk about space and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what, with the whole Israel thing. It's, September 11th for me is when I first woke up to, because that's when I was Army Guard, blew my shoulder out, and my unit's activated. They're overseas, and I'm getting letters in the mail. I'm in rehab. I had 27 staples in my shoulder, and rehabbing stateside, and I'm getting handwritten letters from my guys, and that was the first time that that was the moment for me that was like, what the hell? This doesn't make sense, because I'm watching the news, which at that time I didn't have like a conspiratorial bone in my body at that point, at least consciously.
Right.
And I didn't think about that.
Being in the military being indicative of that.
I didn't question any of that stuff, right? Official stories.
Right.
Then I'm watching the news and seeing what's reported, and then I'm reading letters
from your buddies.
From my buddies that are there.
Yeah. Telling
me what's actually going, like dudes like you and I,
those two things have nothing to do with each other. Yeah.
Dude, it was wild.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what? This doesn't make. So then, we exchange letters. Where is it? That's a giant bee. That's an Amazon bee, baby. Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah. The insect life here is amazing.
But that, for me, that was like the wake up call because I know that they were telling me the truth. Like, I know without a doubt, these are guys that would have died for me, that I would have died,
Yeah, of course, they're not, and they're there.
And they're there,
firsthand,
writing me a letter, like.
Yeah, and you talk to anyone in any war, and they say that.
Yeah.
They say, like, what I experienced versus what was
Look at the size of that guy, dude.
Yeah.
I don't
All right.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, Brandon.
Hey guys, we're here in Vilcabamba with the Abundant Living team. To learn more about our next retreat, click the link in the description down below.
From our family to yours, welcome to Vilcabamba.